Viewers, some partnerships are defined as much by tension as by trust. India-US ties last year occupied precisely that space. Behind the handshakes, India worked to hedge its approach amid the uncertainties of the great experiment that is the United States. But despite all of that, it seems that US President Donald Trump can't change his old habits. From Prime Minister Narendra Modi can't make me unhappy to Modi not happy with me, Trump seems to be unsure about his own stand. Addressing House Republicans yesterday, Trump first boasted the might of the US military and added that India had sought 68 Apaches from Washington. He didn't stop there. In the same breath, Trump praised the relationship US shares with India, but then claimed that Prime Minister Modi was unhappy with him. Reason being steep tariffs. Listen in.
India ordered 68 Apaches, and Prime Minister Modi came to see me. Sir, may I see you, please? Yes, I have a very good relationship with him. He's not that happy with me because, you know, they're paying a lot of tariffs now because they're not doing the oil, but they are. They've now reduced it very substantially, as you know, from Russia.
Because Donald Trump's jabs at India have been loud, consistent, and cutting. From questioning India's COVID data to branding it the tariff king, we've seen how he has been slamming energy deals with Iran and Russia to accusing India of trade manipulation. Trump's rhetoric has often sounded more like a warning than a handshake. Let's take you through some of those details. Now, there's nothing diplomatic about some of these statements that have been made, is what we are saying here, because the track record of the statements is here before us. Modi not happy with me was claimed in front of the House GOP retreat. Mock COVID data says India's COVID numbers not believable. Tariff king jibe accused India of high tariffs, especially on Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Criticized the trade imbalance, repeatedly saying that US is losing in trade with India. Accused India on energy imports. Slammed India for buying oil from Iran and later from Russia. We've seen Navarro echo those thoughts. His advisor, Navarro, accused India of trade manipulation. Now, there's a fresh wave of anti-India rhetoric that is sweeping through Team Trump, and it's anything but subtle. From Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to former trade advisor Peter Navarro and Charlie Kirk, all, of course, late Charlie Kirk, have taken sharp, targeted swipes not just at India's policies but its people. Here are some of those statements. When Team Trump targeted India in the past, in 2 months, India will be on the table and say sorry. It will be on Trump's desk and say how he'll deal with Modi. In fact, this is what Howard Lutnick, the US Commerce Secretary, stated. India is the Maharaja of tariffs. The Brahmins are profiteering. Profiteering at the expense of Indians is what Peter Navarro, White House trade advisor, has said. America doesn't need more visas for Indians. No other immigrants displaced Americans as much as what late Charlie Kirk had said. Now, on the other hand, viewers, India has always maintained its cool. While Trump camp throws barbs, India sticks by its allies, calling India-US ties very positive and robust. No name calling, no knee-jerk reactions, just measured messaging from a country that knows the value of mature diplomacy. Let's take you through some of India's statements now. Now, India has pretty much stuck by its ally. It's maintained its stance, saying that India-US ties remain very positive and robust. It has appreciated Trump, saying that Trump called Prime Minister Modi a great friend and has reaffirmed that as far as India is concerned. They've highlighted strategic ties. Amidst critical statements, India is focused on strategic depth. They have reinforced shared priorities, saying that despite provocations, India avoids personal rebuttals. Debate coming up on the other side. Ashok Sajanar, former diplomat. We have Lieutenant General KJS Dillon, retired, who's a former GOC of the Chinar Court. We also have Christopher Clary, non-resident fellow of the Stimson Center and associate professor of political science, University of Albany. We also have with us Angie Wong, Miami GOP committee woman. Let me start first and foremost with Christopher Clary. Christopher Clary, at a time when India and the United States are negotiating, and of course, there are all sorts of negotiating tactics. The kind of statements that President Trump has made, time and again have embarrassed India. Now, India has been mature, has not reacted sharply to any of those extremely provocative statements here that have caused the government to be put on a mat. But this time, many believe he's really taken it to a new low.
I don't know if this is a new low. We've had some really low lows before, and I imagine we'll have some low lows in the future. The president continues to speak about the prime minister with some personal warmth, whatever troubles might bedevil the relationship, including their personal relationship. I do still think there's a way out of this because it is an outgrowth of idiosyncratic causes. It is understandable that my Indian colleagues view this erraticism under the Trump administration with some concern, and it's understandable that it has caused some reevaluation of the U.S.-India relationship. But I think as Ambassador Gore gets ready to land in New Delhi in a week's time, we can put Humpty Dumpty back together again. It doesn't make it wise what the president has done over the last 7 months or so, but I think the structural features still encourage U.S.-India cooperation.
Right. Let me take this across to, in fact, Ashok Sajanhar. Ashok Sajanhar, putting Humpty Dumpty together back again isn't as easy as it sounds because a lot of water has flowed in the Yamuna over the last few months, about 7 months, as Christopher Clary said. And that only makes Sergio Gore's task that much tougher.
No, absolutely. You're very right, Madhav, and thank you for having me on the show. You're right when you say that, much water has flown down the Yamuna. But I think even more water has flown down the Potomac and the Hudson. And I think it is in the United States that people should be looking at what has been done. Because, what has been said that he has made very complimentary remarks to as far as Prime Minister Modi is concerned. They don't sound genuine at all. I think people who are aware, these are basically, patronizing remarks. That is what it comes to me. And the fact that, these fatuous, quite uncalled for statements, for instance, what has come out yesterday when he said that Prime Minister Modi came to him and said, "Sir, I want to meet with you, please." Mr. Modi, those who know him, will never make a statement of that nature. He treats all heads of state and government with respect, but as equals. He doesn't sir anyone. So, meaning Mr. Trump is also being very creative. He's being very innovative in sort of, coming, meaning I don't want to use the word delusional because, that would be, but meaning these are all those in India we have seen over the last 6, 7, 8 months. For instance, I will also, Madhav, take you back to what Mr. Trump, what comes to my mind, Mr. Trump had told Imran Khan in 2019 that Mr. Modi has asked me to negotiate, intervene on the issue of Kashmir and negotiate between India and Pakistan. No one can believe it. No one can trust. So I think when he makes these comments, Mr. Trump is actually putting his own credibility and his own reliability at stake. No one trusts him on those things.
Angie Wong, I'm just, All right, go ahead.
No, the last point I want to make is that even more recently on this whole issue of India-Pakistan cessation of hostilities, India has stated it so many times.
Sure.
But Mr. Trump will go on. And again, his credibility, with every time he says, his credibility comes down. Last point about Humpty Dumpty. The trust between the two countries, which has been building over the last 25 years, that has been severely, seriously eroded by what Mr. Trump has done. It's not very easy to put that trust back again. We'll have to see how to take the relationship forward.
All right, that trust has been broken. Several statements that many believe are quite fantastic. If you just look at yesterday, and I'm just quoting a former advisor, Evan Feigenbaum, who is actually, served as advisor to several secretaries there in the United States. He says, the Apaches aside, the factual inaccuracy there, he says, I'm quite certain that Prime Minister Modi did not call him sir. But this is where we are at this point. How do you respond to that, Angie Wong? Because even experts within the United States are quite baffled and puzzled at the kind of statements coming out of President Trump.
Well, remember, this is a really insider GOP meeting. This is the winter retreat. I've been to a few of them here in Florida. They're really just meant for donors and members of Congress and the Speaker to set forward an agenda. See, this week, Congress went back into session after the holidays. So, it's really funny that across the world we're now seeing this. And it's only because Trump was the keynote speaker at this. But he said what he said, even though the audience may not have been meant to be heard around the world. He did say it. I think President Trump is coming off a weekend of major geopolitical wins. He feels as though by taking Venezuela and removing Maduro and now having a vice president that he can work with there, Vice President Rodriguez, he feels that he's cut off the oil pipeline, at least one of them, for Russia, for China, and for other rogue nations. So now he's testing the water.
Very respectfully, it doesn't matter whether he's speaking at a resort or Mar-a-Lago, whether he's speaking during the holidays. He's the president of the United States. Every statement of his is going to be measured on a diplomatic scale when you talk about other world leaders. It's as simple as that. And he, of all people, would know that.
My point being is that he's testing the waters with your prime minister right now to see where do we stand. Now that we've removed a lot of the pipelines, the oil pipelines, money pipelines from your allies, essentially, with Russia, China, and everyone else who was at the SCO meeting, how are you going to react to this?
If you keep singeing the waters, there won't be much waters left, ma'am. The way that things are going, you don't test waters for 7 months.
Yes, well, certainly in diplomatic circles, you can test waters for 7 decades. I mean, it doesn't matter. Things flip-flop. So now it's really up to how Modi's going to react to this, right? And that's what you have to understand about President Trump. He throws outrageous things out there. Oh, we're going to take Greenland. Well, what do you think that's about? That is to see the reactions. What he did over the weekend, taking over Venezuela,
this is just to see the reactions.
there was no reaction
forward
from the world
Lieutenant Dillon, this is just to test the waters. In diplomacy, you can keep testing waters for 7 decades. You know, that's stretching things a bit too far, many here in India would believe. Your response, General Dillon.
Good evening, Madhav, and good evening to fellow panelists and all your viewers. No, ma'am, sorry, this is not the way diplomacy happens. Diplomacy is a very polite game, it's a very firm game. And statesmen, when they issue statements, they're very measured in their words because, especially the United States president, his words are being watched and analyzed as we are doing world over. So he can't be kiddish. He can't be just testing waters, and the testing waters is done through the spokespersons. And the talking, as Mr. Sajjanar also said, Mr. Modi, our Prime Minister, will never be speaking the language which he has been attributed to. We are a 5,000-old civilization, and we have a heritage and culture. We are very respectful when we speak to others, especially our elders, but in international diplomacy, we treat everyone at par, but with respect. And factual inaccuracies, as Madhav has already brought out, 68 Apaches. I don't know where this number has come from. It's factually inaccurate number. And defense cooperation, we are not the country who is going with a begging bowl and we will be selling and we will be saying, please, we pay for whatever we buy. We pay in hard cash. And defense cooperation happens on equal terms. The derogatory language is not the diplomacy. Derogatory language is not the way statesmen should behave. We are two big nations, and only saving grace in this whole game is the diplomatic community and the strategic community in the United States of America understands the importance and relevance of India in Indo-Pacific and in Asia, as also in world. So they are the people who understand the importance and relevance of India. Otherwise, such statements, I think, they're very childish, they're very kiddish.
Yeah. Christopher Carey, I want you to come in on that, because maturity and a little bit of sagacity should not be taken as a sign of weakness. I think that's the subtext coming in from what General Dillon just said.
The president has spoken many times about how he believes the prime minister is a very capable negotiator. I don't think he takes India's public behavior as a sign of weakness. We are managing some issues, and one of the issues is the president's rhetoric. But at the end of the day, there's a few crucial facts. India is next door to China, which is engaged in one of the largest military buildups since World War II. India needs U.S. technology to achieve its great power and economic aspirations. And the U.S. needs India's scale and size if it wants to compete in the Indo-Pacific in the 21st century. And those 3 facts, I think, will ultimately bring us back together. We are doomed to cooperate, whether we want to or not. And, obviously my advice and counsel to the president, if he were to ask me, would be to pull back on the public rhetoric, which I don't think is helping us get to a deal. But that is, part of the package. And the whole world is dealing with this complicated man. And India is not an exception. But at the end of the day, I think we have more to benefit from than this, the costs that come with this rhetoric.
All right, we have more to benefit from than the cost of this rhetoric. But Ashok Saranja, is it really a fait accompli? The very fact that we're China's neighbor, the very fact that we do so much of trade together, we have so much of cooperation and so much in common when it comes to our strategic partnership, is that enough to just see things together? Because that's not the only thing that matters when it comes to diplomacy.
No, you're absolutely right. I think the two countries should be working together. That our leaders over the last 25 years realized. We started in 2000. For the 25 years, our relationship has been going up. And that is how we have become what we term as comprehensive global strategic partners. Now, over the last 6-7 months, we see that there is a determined attempt to derail this partnership. I don't think it serves the interest of either country. You know what the last speaker has said? It is the size and scale of India, but it is also the skill of India that the United States wants. The United States wants also the market of India. I think it needs to recognize that. It also needs to recognize, the lady who said that your friends, China and Russia, you should realize what we have always said, that the United States is our consequential, most decisive partnership. If you do not recognize your friends, you will be making enemies out of them. China, we have a very adversarial relationship. You should know this, meaning if you don't know history, at least know contemporary events. For the last 5 years, there has been no meeting between the Chinese leader and India. It is only started after 5 years, from 2019 to 2024. So I think you should understand these facts before you make these comments. There is the last point, Madhav, that I'll say is there is a whole universe in America outside the Trump establishment which understands and knows the worth of India. It's not only the think tanks, it's the whole Congress. You look at the Indian caucus in the House of Representatives is the largest one. In the Senate is the largest one. Business, there are a huge community which wants good relations with India, and I think better sense will prevail as we move along.
Absolutely. And Angie Wong, the point is that you can't complain about India's relations with China and Russia when you're going to host and wine and dine Pakistan, which is not even a democracy. It's pretty much a military-run dictatorship. We've seen what's happening in the country. It's in complete doldrums.
Well, speaking of facts, I think it was Xi Jinping who met with Modi just a few months ago. So it wasn't in 2004, it was just a couple of months ago. And that was in response to Trump putting on tariffs on India. So, there's been a lot of push-pull back and forth. All of this is just taunting each other. It would be great for all these world leaders to get together at perhaps a G20 coming up in December to hash these things out rather than, flip-flopping on words. Look, I spent half my career decoding Trump. You can't listen to the words. You can't be offended by the words. If you are, then you shouldn't be playing this game anyway. Trump is from New York. He is going to say these things. And a lot of people don't understand it. They think he has to be the diplomatic president. He's not that guy.
You can subject the citizens of the United States. The rest of the world does not have to tolerate or bear it. Everyone's going to speak their mind. It's a democracy here in India. And if we don't like something, we'll say it.
We say it all the time here as well in the U.S. press that we don't like what he's saying. But you have to understand, if you take this personally and you take his words personally and not look at his actions, then you're already at fault. Then you don't understand how to even work with Trump.
Will you take an insult personally? Will you not respond to an insult if someone insulted you?
I have Teflon skin, sir. I work in politics.
Well, good luck to you with that. Not everyone does. Not everyone does. Lieutenant General Dhillon, please.
Well, that's too bad then.
Saying it that don't take it personally, when you take a gentleman's name and then you make a remark, then why shouldn't it be taken personally? It's not a third-party remark. It's not an oblique remark. It's a direct remark by naming the Indian Prime Minister, and that's not acceptable. That's not diplomatic language, and that's not the statesman behavior. That's absolutely unstatesmanlike at that level. India is the 1/6 of the world in population. India is a big market. India is the 4th largest economy. India has a military might. India has a say in the Indo-Pacific and South Asia. we need to be talked to with respect which we deserve. We cannot be brushed aside like any other country. And India has always been non-aligned, even in the past. So we will have relationships with Russia, we will have relationships with China, ups and downs will keep happening. And at the same time, we will have a relationship with USA and all the other countries of the world at equal terms, which suits both the parties.
Right.
We cannot be subservient to one person and be against the other because someone doesn't like our relationship with the other person. Our non-alignment, it is our strategic autonomy.
All right. We'll have to leave it there. Ashok Sajanar, General Dhillon, Christopher Clary, Angie Wong, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening.